Well, we've got a hot topic right now. The title of this is Retaining and Rewarding Players Without Resorting to Crypto. That's got some language in it right there. So we've got Jim Wolf, Trevor Dirksen, and Sayu Abend. And Jim's going to run this thing. So that means I can go hang out back here and just kind of pay attention. So take it away, Jim.
Great. Thanks, Dan. We really appreciate the opportunity to be here and have an hour to chat with the audience. We're going to start out really focusing on this topic of retaining and rewarding players. And we'll talk about without resorting to crypto. But I think, as we all know, for certainly you that are game publishers and developers in the audience, that attracting and retaining your gamers to your game in a very rapidly and growing market is a hot topic. Probably keeps you up at night. And we know the market is growing double digit, has been doing that for the past several years, and expected to happen for the next several years. So what are the methods that we use to attract and retain our gamers? Certainly, number one, and Trevor will be talking a lot more about that, is the stickiness of the game itself. You want that game to attract your gamers and to retain them over a longer period of time, from which you can better monetize. Certainly, as gamers play, they like to see some rewards occur. So in-game digital asset rewards, both consumable and non-consumable assets, come to play. More recently, some have evolved into NFTs, adding persona, on and on. And we'll talk some about that. Certainly, traditional methods of promoting your games, of social media, game influencers, platform promotions are all important, and you can't ignore them. But the topic today is really, what are the importance of physical rewards, cashback rewards, crypto rewards, prizes? How does that play in your marketing strategy? Is it important? And we're going to explore this both from a perspective of the gaming industry, but also bring in lessons learned from decades of history from the retail market, the product goods market, product brands, and the financial sector. Certainly, any of you that watch Super Bowl ads, you see those cashback rewards being advertised over and over and over. We saw Rakuten, we saw a lot of the card companies. So we want to look at, exactly what can we learn from retail, product brands, and financial services companies. These methods have been considered, that while they're relatively new in the gaming industry, they've been applied for decades in these markets. We see card, product, or retailer-specific rewards being important, but the question is, how do you effectively compete with those? And so that's what we're going to explore today. We look forward to that. We've got some great panelists here to have that conversation. Unfortunately, one of our panelists, Bobby Tinsley, who is the co-founder and executive vice president of SKUX, which is a digital incentives platform for both product brands and retailers, was called away by one of his investors. And I think all of us that are in the market understand that when the investors want to talk, you listen. And so he sends his apology for not being here. But we do have a great panel, and I want to first introduce them, let them give a brief introduction to who they are and what they do, and then we'll get into some discussion. So let's start with you, Sayu. Give a brief introduction and tell us, any opening comments that you'd like to make.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Sayu Abend. I'm the founder and CEO of SpacePoint. So I'm on the fintech end of things, work across merchants, consumers. We have a point of sale and payment solutions that we push out there and really help businesses really engage with the consumers and even also bigger business partners. So we've been in business for over 8 years and are processing across 12 countries globally. Nice to meet everyone.
Thanks, Sayu. And as I understand, you have a strong tech background too in terms of architecting these types of solutions in the market, correct?
Yes. So all the solutions that we have, I've worked with the team, started out on a piece of printer paper and drawing, and then we went to town. So absolutely, I'm an engineer by education and a geek solutions designer by hobby.
Super. Thanks. Our other panelist is Trevor Dirksen, and he comes from the gaming industry, running a rapidly growing company, ePlay Digital. So, Trevor, I'll turn it over to you, and you can give an introduction.
Sure. So, by way of introduction to ePlay, anyway, we built games for ESPN, Sony Pictures, Intel, Time Warner Cable, and others. We've built games with the Lakers and FIFA World Cup, and for 7-time champ, NBA champ Robert Ory, Olympic decathlete Michael Smith, and comedian producer Howie Mandel. We've got games that are, kind of traditional casual, like, simple casual games, more location-based games, and an app, which is a running app built in a game engine. So like Strava or Nike Run, built in a game engine. And some of those will come up today. And obviously retention, stickiness, attraction are all very, very important. Very important to us and to this panel discussion.
Right. Yeah, that's great, Trevor. And I look forward to hearing more about, some of your blending of the actual world we live with and the metaverse and, sort of that bringing the two together. I think that's a very exciting future for all of us. So really appreciate you being here. Just by way of introduction to myself, I've been a serial entrepreneur for many years, primarily in the technical side. Over the last 15 years, I've had a focus on how do you bring targeted offers and loyalty rewards to markets, specifically focused on the retail market. Spent several years working with MasterCard and developing some solution sets for the small to mid-sized retailers to both issue and redeem reward value at the time of sale, which is very important, that instant gratification that comes about that. So we'll talk a little more about that as we go along in the conversation. So let's go ahead and get started. I want to start out with addressing the question of how important are targeted offers, incentives, and tangible rewards, such as cashback or physical rewards, for attracting and retaining customers. And Sayu, I'll start with you. I know you've been delivering these premier innovative fintech solutions to the financial sector for several years, including your current company, SpacePoint. So why are card companies and other financial industry players putting such an emphasis on cashback rewards and other targeted incentives? I know just by way of introduction to that, I'm a big fan of my favorite golfer, Charles Barkley, and he's always on, Capital One ads with his promotions, and there's just tons of money going into this incentive of cashback reward. So it must be important.
Absolutely. So it honestly revolves fundamentally around the theory of reciprocity, right? Reward, I give you something, you patronize me, I need you to patronize me, and I give you something in return. So from a consumer perspective, it tends to drive, and has worked very well over the years for retail, it tends to drive that initial visit and the repeat visits, which is what, the businesses always wanted. So it's that, scratch my back and scratch your back, and it has worked very, very well. I'm personally a huge fan. In retail, my favorite a store where I get my clothes, they have what they call real women dollars, and I'm like stacking those things up, and then it's okay, it's open, go spend your money. So it's definitely it's a very, very big thing. When it comes to the real fintechs, in terms of the cards and everything else, it doesn't work without digitization. So like, for example, we're still in the middle of COVID, but came out of a very, very big lockdown. You can see that COVID actually drove a lot of digitization. People were using their cards more. You see merchants saying, oh, now we can, tap, you can tap, swipe, dip, but you don't have to touch me, you don't have to come near me, social distancing. So it kind of drove that. So you see, businesses now are really, really leveraging the fact that people are really using their cards more, using their cards to pay bills. What do we do to further drive? Certain research from ACI shows that about over half of Americans, they like making even that initial payment or repeat payments just to be able to get those incentives. So I mean, it's just something that has worked, and with increased digitization now, it's I mean, it's just a no-brainer.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I noticed, when I was working with the small to mid-sized retailers in the past, they always relied on their own programs, and this is a history that's gone on for like 70 years. Accenture did a study a while back, not too long ago, and found that over 90% of all retail companies offer some form of loyalty program, and I think that's pretty amazing. And then, of course, more recently in the retail space, we've seen major marketing channels like Rakuten and Ibotta and Dosh, where bring all these retailers together, and you're getting these instant cashback rewards, and that becomes a major marketing channel.
Yep.
Yep. Great. Well, Trevor, I know your company ePlay is innovating in the metaverse, and you're linking both physical life experiences with our gaming experiences. So the question to you is why is the delivery of tangible incentives and rewards, including cash, so important in the gaming industry to attract and retain your gamers? Why not just give them some more gold coins?
That works. That works too. And the game mechanic of a loyalty program and the game mechanic of a mobile game doesn't necessarily. It's not that different, really. I feel like I'm playing a game every time I book a flight or book a hotel. And I'm getting points and I'm getting different types of points for. So the retail is doing the same thing we're doing, and they did it first, as far as I can tell.
Sure.
And so we're copying them and happily doing so. The flexibility that we have in a way is that those points in a game. They don't always have to lead towards something. You get points just for the sake of getting points. Oh, okay, you climb the leaderboard, you can unlock something, and it's all digital, and it's all very commodity. It's not like the airline is going to give me a free upgrade or a flight someday if I get enough points in the game. But of course, that's the logical next step, and a lot of companies are taking that step. And that's exactly what we're doing with QX, and taking games that have a cash incentive in one part of the game, a cash prize in one part of the game, and a points reward system to be turned into cash in another side of the game. And it's kind of two different rewards, two different prizes, and it's more complicated than that. Actually, most games are more complicated than that in terms of the economy that runs everything. So, it's the reasons are the same reason the retailers are doing it. It's retention, loyalty. It's a fickle market out there. I suppose there's fewer retailers than casual games. Probably by an order of magnitude, but the competition is fierce nonetheless. And so how do you get somebody's attention in the first place, and how do you keep their attention? And that attention game is the game on your mobile device, on any screen. If you command attention, the longer you command that attention, the more advertising dollars, the less time they're spending doing something else, probably shopping at a retail store, or even doing online shopping. So commanding attention wins. If you can take, as we've done in the past, I mentioned we did some work for the Los Angeles Lakers and Time Warner Cable. They hired us just to keep somebody through an ad pod. Their data showed that people were watching the basketball game, but they weren't watching through the second ad pod, or the second ad break. So if their ad breaks every 15 minutes, basketball's a little different than that. But anyway, if the ad breaks every 15 minutes, they weren't getting them through the second ad break. So they weren't commanding enough attention. So we gamified the viewing experience to get people through the second ad pod. That made some advertisers happy, and that worked with that game at that time, and that's all our job is, really. I don't know about retailers. From a gaming point of view, it's all about attention.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's interesting too. I think when I think games, and I play casually, there's always that competitive spirit in me, right? I'm going to get on top of the leaderboard, or get extra points, or I'm going to get more out of it than you. But it's not a fierce competition. It's just, and it even happens in retail. I mean, it's like, well, I got 10% cashback rewards, and you only got 5%, or I got 23 cents off per gallon, and you only got 18 cents off per gallon. So I see that, certainly probably a competitive part of that plays also.
Well, I joke, Jim, all the time. I think it's a joke. Gosh, I hope it is. That I've got to work. The airline I fly the most has a 1,000,000-mile club where I get a lifetime of benefits.
Yeah.
I can't retire until I get my lifetime of benefits. So I'm working right through till I get to the next level. Right? That's just like a game.
Yeah. And then those 1,000,000 points are going to be worth a pack of peanuts, right? I did find interesting, there was a study by Versus that showed that there was a 34% increase in League of Legends, which is, of course, more of a heavier game playtime after they introduced rewards. So it's kind of, those sort of studies certainly point to, whether they're in-game rewards or physical rewards, the importance of that certainly comes to play. Yeah,
for sure. And one of the things is probably coming up. I hope I'm not jumping too forward, but I wanted to talk about the marketing of the rewards. So it's one thing to offer the rewards, but if you think about those ads you talked about earlier, Jim, with Barkley in them, I don't see those ads. But if you're not advertising the rewards program, there's no value of the rewards program. So you've got to, and this works in the retail world, I think. I mean, because this is what I see as an observer anyway, is that rewards program has to be seen as having value, and there has to be awareness around that as well. Or I'm not gonna park in that parking lot or go to that hotel because I'm not aware of it, and so that becomes a co-marketing relationship between the rewards program, the loyalty program, and the offering. And I don't know. Smarter people than me in this space would know. I sometimes get the feeling the rewards program actually spends more money than the offering on advertising. But I have no idea if that's true or not. I sometimes get that impression, though.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. And I think, as we talk about targeted offers and incentive rewards, do they really work? And, are they best at attracting new customers? Are they best at retaining customers? And, there's always that discussion. But as you pointed out, I think you have to look at rewards as just a component of your marketing strategy, right? And it's not isolated, as you pointed out. It has to be marketed through other channels. Mm-hmm. But it is, I mean, I look at Rakuten today, and that's a marketing channel. I mean, it's not just about rewards. It actually provides a method to attract and retain those customers over a longer period of time. So, yeah, great point. Let me ask you, Sayu, I know you've introduced and are offering these fintech offerings throughout the world. Sure. And the question is, do you see these targeted offers, incentives, and rewards having an impact on attracting new customers, retaining customers? And does it vary by what part of the world you're in?
It does. I would say, just from my experience of working across different markets, everybody likes what they perceive as free stuff, right? It feels free. So they like that. They like to be incented. It drives acquisition. It drives retention. It drives both. However, again, it is, especially in the fintech world, it is directly proportional to the level of digitization. So if I'm going to do a card reward program in a emerging market, how many people actually have cards? How many people pay with cash? So you find out that the product type rewards are stronger. The 15% off or whatever, it's a little bit more manageable. Also, there's not as much sophistication in those programs. You find out that in emerging markets, they're stronger there because the infrastructure of the payment digitization is not as strong as you have in the first world. So you have to now find unique ways of being able to accomplish the same goal, which is drive that, acquisition and retention and have them coming over and over again for fintech. How do you go into a market and hit people or touch people who don't really use their cards, or an older woman who does have a card, but she has to like wrap it in some little pouch thing and put it in her little wrapper thing before it's like a sacred thing. And then you tell her, hey, you have, whatever, $20 per spend, that's all lost on them. So
yeah.
we're working on, part of what is pushing us, especially in emerging markets, is to work on more creative ways to really drive those reward programs, even for consumers, but in a very, and I can talk about it at some point, but in a reverse way. It just is honestly directly proportional to the level of digitization from a fintech perspective.
Yeah, great perspectives. I'm sure that I know even in the United States, there's there's different segments that you have to look at in terms of the demographics and how an old person like myself will or will not use that technology, right? Mm-hmm. And how do you apply that? So great insight.
Or how do small businesses play?
Yeah. Absolutely.
So you can do a Bank of America thing or Chase or Wells Fargo, and they have all these sophisticated platforms to be able to play. How do I say, hey, you spend this much and then get this much without it costing them an arm and a leg? So those are the things that we honestly we're very focused on, is how do we get the small guys, how do we get the informal guys to play in this space, because we're all after the same consumer, right? To drive those consumers there.
Yeah. Yeah, and you bring a great point, which translates right into the gaming industry, which is the keeping the friction out of for both the game publisher and developer, in your case, the retailer, through the proper use of technology, and the same is true for the consumer, right? You don't want to. The more friction points you have, the less likely it is that reward mechanism is going to be used. I'd be interested, Trevor, in your thoughts on this, and you're bringing these new marketing channels and methods, out of the fintech industry, the retail industry, and as you said, we're borrowing them. But I mean, the reality is learning from what's worked and hasn't worked. So how are you viewing that as emerging game publisher? Give me some thoughts.
Yeah, well, I think I'm learning, including this call. It never occurred to me before. As a gaming company, everything's digital already. So when we register a card or get somebody a card, we don't have to mail it to them. They don't have to apply. They do have to figure out their username and password. So there's friction there. I always forget the difference between friction and traction. They both sound good to me. I like both. Yeah. I like causing friction. Let me put it that way. So the friction of having to get a card. I've lived that in retail. I don't want another one of those. I don't want to manage that. I can only manage so many of those. So I can only be loyal to so many people that are issuing me cards. Luckily, my computer now and my phone now does a much better job of managing my username and passwords.
Yeah.
Perhaps the equivalent of a card. Of course, we could look at it from and Jim, what I'm doing is I kind of forgot the question, but I wanted.
Well, that's okay.
I wanted to tell you what I just learned. I really want to say that.
Yeah. No, I'm just curious as to
Sorry, that's awesome.
I was so fascinated with your answer, I probably forgot the question too.
I was learning on blow, so thank you.
Oh,
yeah. No, it's great. I mean, it is that. I mean, there's always the question of, do you use rewards to attract new people, which is always, I know in the retail space that when I talk to the smaller retailers, well, I got to get new customers. And yet, studies such as one was put out by Wirecard says that 75% of all your return on investment is going to come from loyal customers. Once you get that customer, how do you retain them? And certainly rewards seem to be a part of that. So, I mean, what's your thought on, attracting versus retaining? You got to have both. I get that.
You gotta, but I think you're quite right, and again, I'm learning as we go. I think so. If I wanted to, as a game publisher, I could go to my favorite loyalty program, and that I have a card in my wallet for and on my phone for, and I could become part of their program, right? Just like where I park my car, get the hotel, and book my flights. I could become part of that program.
Yep.
I haven't. No other gaming company has either. So I guess what the industry is saying so far is, and what I'm saying by not even thinking about it till this moment, is it's not for attraction, because the industry leaders in any market aren't getting me to become part of their program, or any other game developer part of their program. So they have Apple, they might have Amazon, they might have a Nike store, something like that. I don't think they do have the Nike store, but they have some of those suppliers, but they don't have a game publisher. So for game publishers, I don't think we're seeing a player like that, a loyalty program like that I can't think of one off the top of my head anyway, that is, yes, this is the go-to for attraction. They've been marketing enough. I used them for parking last week, and I want to use them for my game next week. So I think what we're saying is this is irrelevant for attraction so far, and it's about retargeting or retention primarily, if not completely.
Yeah. Well, certainly as we look at offering rewards, there's a cost of offering those incentives and rewards. As you pointed out, Trevor, you've got to market them. You've got the actual cost of the reward themselves. So for any marketing costs, you want to make sure that there's a measurable return on that investment, right? And we're seeing a lot of focus over the past many years on metrics that measure the impact of these reward offers. So if I'm making if I've got part of my marketing costs and I'm spending it on rewards, what's the return on investment and how do I measure it? Where do you think the gaming industry's at in that, Trevor?
We don't have enough data yet because we've only run one rewards program so far. It wasn't well marketed. Even inside of the app, it wasn't well marketed. We didn't use it for attraction, and actually the only thing I knew was the same number you quoted earlier on, because that was the company we did the partnership with. We've done a new one, as you know, with Acquire, and we're putting that together technically right now, and we'll be rolling that out. So I'll have data soon. What I have noticed is the same thing everybody else has noticed with gaming, is you've got a small percentage of users that are quite loyal, and they are where the money is made, where the time's spent. They are and by the way, that small percentages can be really, really small. I think 1% is a lot. It was what the industry's saying, and I think we have numbers. It depends on the game. We have 13 different SKUs. So one of our apps is a running and walking app. So you can go for a virtual run anywhere on the metaverse. You can create your avatar. So it has a 25, 26, 27% retention rate already. And so why is that? Well, because if you've got healthy habits, or you're building healthy habits, or you're trying to build healthy habits, you want to go for a walk or run, and you've tried this thing and you used it once and you liked it, well, you're going to go for a walk later on that week. Will you use it again? And so retention problem there versus a casual game where you've got 13 of them on your device, 15 of them on your device, maybe not just 2 or 3, and you're being marketed on Facebook all the time for a new one, or on Instagram for a new one, or your buddy tells you about this one, or your daughter's playing another one. Those casual games are maybe not meant to be used twice. I mean, they are, but we really don't see that. So honestly, do we really think they're meant to be played, more than a couple of? So we try and keep people playing those, and there's some breakthroughs in that. So retention rate on those is very, very small, percentage, decimals of a percentage point. And so could it be better? Of course it could be. Game mechanics help, loyalty program help, rewards obviously help. But I don't have any numbers yet, other than what the industry numbers are. But we're working with really small percentages in some cases. That a doubling would be, from 0.5 to 1%. That's a big deal. So the effort's worth it, because it's a doubling is pretty easy to go from 0.5 to 1%.
Yeah, no, great point. And it's interesting as you said, in the gaming industry. It's relatively new, the issuance of physical rewards and incentives and targeting. I read one study estimate only about 10% of current game publishers are even considering, those types of rewards as a part of their marketing strategy. Whereas in the retail space, Experian did a study a while back, said 75% of U.S. companies with loyalty programs they measured a physical return on investment. They could actually get those metrics down. So I think we as an industry certainly are early, but we're going to have to lay those out and get a better set of metrics and dashboards that really measure the results of this marketing channel of issuing rewards. Sayu, I know in your space, working with retail and product brands, they do see some top line and bottom line impact. How important? I assume that's pretty important to your customers as they implement their technology and getting those metrics that allow them to measure that.
Big time, very, very important. One of the things we have, I'll tell you, one of the things we have done for the small businesses is, again, they don't have sophisticated points of sales to be able to drive this type of programs. So what we've done is kind of focused on making it easy for them, but also putting the weight on the big brands. So you find the small business selling a big brand product. So imagine a big brand being able to launch a campaign. Typically, when you have a big brand, they don't have any visibility really, in emerging markets especially, into who is buying. I have a tube of toothpaste. What is my consumer buying? What are they buying that toothpaste with? There are all kinds of things they can do. It's not just about direct sales, but even just mixing and matching, giving all kinds of rewards because you know what's in the market basket. So imagine a brand saying, hey, I'm giving all this stuff to my distributors, and somehow when it gets to the end consumer, I really don't know or have any control, because they're with small businesses. What is out there? What is my inventory? How do I drive demand? What do I do? So what we've done is worked on developing a platform for the big brands that enables them capture the small guys, the small merchants. So I, as a big brand selling a tube of toothpaste or whatever, selling toothpaste, can now see what the mom and pop store, who's selling that toothpaste, what they have, where they're at, their location and all that stuff. And if I know and I can see that, just imagine being able to see that on the heat map. You're seeing all the small guys and what they're selling at inventory, and you're able to light them up in like 3 minutes to say, hey, sign up here, and all of a sudden you have a point of sale where you can sell those products or process the offers. We make them purely digital offers, and guess what we do? We ditch the app. Nobody's interested in downloading 50 million apps. So we say, get the offer to the consumer and have them stash it in their wallet. And when they stash it in their wallet, they can go to any of the small merchants and they can redeem it. It's driving a lot of traction to give the brands the power to drive that demand and to affect what the consumers are doing. But more importantly, it's enabling the small merchants play in a very significant way before, where they were not even considered. Normally, the big brands would just look at the big boxes.
Yeah.
So
that's great. Yeah, and I'm glad you shared that. And I know if Bobby were here, you and he would be going back and forth on that and the importance of that, because with SKUX and what they're doing and digital incentives and end-to-end and real-time metrics. I mean, it's just fascinating what you guys are doing at SpacePoint, what SKUX is doing, and how that, the real-time aspect of this is very important. It's important to the gamer in the gaming world, right? That I get instant feedback and from the game publishers and developers to know that who should I be targeting with these offers. I mean, the days of a coupon in the newspaper are gone. as you just mentioned, Sayu, it's a specific offer that you can now target based on the buying habits of a given individual. And we see that all the time. I'm always amazed that I go to a website and 5 minutes later that website's promoting me on Facebook. It's a little scary, and I know there's privacy issues, but
yes, feeling Big Brother-ish.
yeah. One of the things that really struck me, there was a very comprehensive study done by Harvard Business Review, and in terms of the impact of in digital incentives and how that can grow revenues, and retailers that added those were growing at roughly 2.5 times faster than other companies in their industry. It's pretty fascinating, and they had very solid metrics to back that up.
For gaming, I don't know a whole lot about gaming, but I know that I remember my daughter coming and being upset because she changed her phone and somehow she lost all her points that was going to unlock something. So, yeah, she was like so upset she lost. I had saved up 300 coins and now, it's all gone. From a perspective of gaming, I was just thinking as Trevor was talking, I was like, maybe it's not about the acquisition of the new gamer. Maybe it's more about driving that in-game spend. Maybe that's so it's like the reward is somewhere. It might not be the thing that drives them to get a game in the first place, but it might be the thing that gets them to spend more while playing the game.
Spend more money and more time.
And more time.
Yeah, that's really the objective of, I think, any reward mechanism in the game, because a lot of games are free to play, right? And so how are you going to monetize? We're going to monetize that by getting the gamer to make in-game purchases, maybe watch some digital ads, but the real focus has to be on driving that loyalty over the longer period of time to play, as Trevor just said, play the game longer, be more engaged, and as a result, then your monetization strategies can start to kick in. We've got just go ahead.
Sorry, Jim, I was just going to say we spend quite a bit of time thinking about retention. I gave that example earlier of the Time Warner Cable and the Los Angeles Lakers, the second ad pod.
Yeah.
And I think of that now as they were trying to build a streak. A 32-minute streak is what they were trying to a viewing streak. So when whether we're talking the Clock Running app or the Fan Freaks sports app, they're focused. They have a streak game mechanic built into it. So it's not just about going to that like the retail programs are of loyalty. It's of consistency. And I think when you're trying to get somebody's attention, we can't do this with all retailers. I can't go to the grocery store every day. Well, I can maybe, but I'm not. I don't know that it's worth trying to make me do that. But tapping a button on my screen to play Wordle, that's a pretty simple thing to do. And I know how your daughter feels, because when New York Times bought the Wordle, they screwed up my streak. But streaks are pretty important to us. Challenges are pretty important to us, and I think that's not the same as loyalty. I don't think because I don't think about this stuff too much. I think you and Jim probably do more. Streak is a form of loyalty. It's a form of retention, and it's just another point category. How many points do you have? What's your streak at? How many cash dollars have you earned? How many NFT dollars have you earned? They're all part of a dashboard.
Yeah. So we just have a couple more minutes. I want to just sort of finish up here, talking a little bit about the types of rewards. We've talked about in-game virtual rewards. We've talked about physical rewards, cashback rewards. And now with the play to earn out in the marketplace with blockchain in the gaming space, with blockchain and crypto and Axie and some of the the real focus there, there's this sudden hype that says, well, you better move your games to blockchain and use crypto as your mechanism to reward. But that's just emerging, and I guess the question first to you, Sayu, is do we see any in terms of incentive rewards, anything that leads right now? I mean, is it cashback? Is it physical rewards? Is it discounts? Is it crypto? What are you seeing?
I think you said the right phrase, emerging. All the crypto stuff. Again, this works as far as if crypto and all of that. I know they're emerging, they're just coming up. So you're gonna get the attention of your early adopters, the people who are like bold, risk, not risk adverse. They want to go for it. They see the future, but your critical mass is still on your traditional models.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the thing. That's again, it goes back to what I was describing earlier. If the infrastructure supports that payment digitization, go for it. Then you know that you can really get your critical mass really using that. I still see the traditional from fintech perspective. Yes, more and more stuff, more and more cool stuff done with cards, and more cool stuff done with digital cards, the wallet type stuff.
Yeah.
The ability to go into a place and as I'm using, I know I'm building up for the next time I come in here, and then I can spend it again. That's great. It's that has worked in retail, is beginning to work very, very much with the virtual cards or digital cards. I love the fact that I have my Sam's Club app, and as a Sam's Club member, I can go to the I've not gone to any other gas station since, because guess what? I'm saving like, I think 8 cents on the dollar. Now, granted, my husband had to like tell me, download the app. And it's like, okay, fine. Until they took my phone and downloaded the app. And then when I saw the savings, I was like, wow, that's really cool. So now I know that, or when he called it out, we saved X amount, on gas. Now, because it's so easy now, it's in my wallet. I'm not going to open anything extra. So those traditional ways work. That's what the critical mass is still using. The new stuff, probably sometime in the future, but that's not popularity. It's still emerging.
Yeah, thank you. How about you, Trevor? What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. If we're talking about NFTs and crypto, it's definitely still emerging. It's not like you should ignore it because hey, it's just emerging. Let's ignore it because there's some early adopters there to go grab. So
Right.
so that's important. We're kind of treating, because we don't have a physical card in gaming. I never thought about the fact that we didn't. What I realize is the equivalent sometimes for some of us, and certainly for some of the things we're doing, is the NFT. It is the crypto. That's the okay. Our most premium, our black card users are buying an NFT, and they are unlocking 25 extra percent bonus kind of thing.
Gotcha.
Than the person that just has a username and an email. They've got the special card. I get treated like that by every credit card company. So it's very, very familiar. But it is interesting to think about the physical, the digital, and the digital to physical, and how to create real value. One of the comments in the I don't know what to call it, in the session has been about Amazon Prime Gaming, and I forgot about Amazon Prime Gaming. It's a great example. You're right, of real world and digital world, bringing those perks together. And I really I only became aware of Amazon Prime Gaming through some conversations with Amazon just in the last couple months, and it's smart, and it's smart because it's physical to digital, digital to physical, as some of these NFTs are, as the crypto world is. It's not all. One of the things that Sayu was talking about is let's drive towards digitization. Well, when you start with everything digital, there's a little bit of a drive to let's make something physical. So with the Clocked app, what's physical? Well, we'll send you a medal. There's one right here, kind of behind me. There. Let's send you a medal. Let's send you a T-shirt. We want you to do something in the physical world, even though you're in the metaverse right now doing a run, and we teleported you to Paris. We don't want you to just sit down. We want you to take steps in the real world, in your neighborhood, and the Fan Freak app with the QX points built in it. Very soon, what's the real world there. Well, that's about sports. Is about what games are on tonight, what games are on this afternoon, and what predictions can I make that are correct for those games. So we're sort of pushing into physical world, I think, to get loyalty, to get retention, and of course borrowing some of those models, and to build value. I think that's the right way to say that, and to build value that it's not everything can be digital all the time. So we see physical as building value.
Yeah, no, that's great. And creditcards.com did a study recently that said 75% of all consumers prefer cash rewards, right? I mean, to the point that, there's still that, I've got something tangible, something that I've got flexibility in how to use. So
I was looking for a couple of cash reward checks I have stored over here. I've got from Costco and for sure.
Yeah. So I think we're about out of time here. I want to open it up. I don't know if Dan or Jay will come on, and any questions that we might have to answer, we'll be glad to do that. I really appreciate your comments, Sayu and Trevor. I think it was very insightful. I learned something, and I really appreciate it. So, Dan, I'm going to turn it over to you, I guess.
All right. Yeah, we've got 15 minutes left. 15 minutes left. All right. So we've got some questions coming up. I'm going to pop them up here. What do you see for the future of crypto and NFTs, right? Like you were talking about, it's very familiar. Like with credit cards, right? Like you get this and you get a 25% reward. That's kind of familiar. So what do you see as like the future of crypto and the way that people are going to use NFTs in like ways maybe that people haven't thought of yet?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just make a quick comment. They're not going away, right? I mean, it's going to continue to grow, and I think, as both Sayu and Trevor said, it's emerging. I think any strategy, moving over the longer term, has to be cognizant of that. You can't ignore it. I know with us and our platform, we're providing the flexibility to bring, crypto and NFT strategies in at the right time, for proper exchange. But what do you think, Sayu? Any comments or Trevor?
It is emerging. I think that the more, in terms of using them as rewards, I think that the more it is done, the more it's going to help towards driving overall adoption. In terms of like, if consumers, if I have it honestly right now, I'm like, okay, it might be something I can save for the future. It might be something I want to know, where can I use it? Where can I spend it? A lot of times people, again, a lot of what's happening with crypto right now is the early adopters. If you look at the overall numbers of the population, we're still in the early adopter phase. People who have studied it and know what to do with it. The general masses haven't necessarily thought about it. The more we drive that acceptance across the market, then the critical masses now begin to get involved. So yes, the more those things are pushed, people now begin to get more aware, but there needs to be more adoption in terms of where I use it, where I spend it, how I save it. Because right now, when people are talking about that, you're talking about how much value is going to bring for the future.
Yeah, I like it for today, for the unlocking of special features, special incentives, bigger bonuses. There's something we can do there. Now I look at it from that point of view because we have a core set of functionalities, and so we can make those more premium by offering some extra bonus and incentive. For at the same time, when you think of the physical to the digital, and vice versa, when we bring an NFT into an NFT marketplace, or bring a piece of real estate, for example, we have something we call Clocked World. And in Clocked World, that's where you do an activity, a run, a walk, a workout, and you can do that anywhere you like. So that brings a spatial component up, and in that spatial component, that means like it doesn't have to be in your living room. It could be in below the Eiffel Tower. So now, who owns that real estate below the Eiffel Tower? We as a company, we can say, well, we do. We own the whole world. We own the real estate. We'll put whatever's there, and because that's technically possible. What I've noticed though is when you take a broader, I'm not sure that's the right word. When you take a different perspective, I don't know if it's broader or not. A different perspective to say, let's let somebody else own that property. Let's give them premium access instead of us owning the premium access. Let's give this other person premium access, and say why? Because they are they're now an owner. They're a member. They're a part of the club. We've just gotten out of our own way a little bit, or a lot, depending on how you execute on that strategy. We've just gotten out of our own way, and now we don't have to decide what's underneath the Eiffel Tower and what people do under the Eiffel Tower, what it looks like, what it sounds like, and what you do there. We get to work on that with our loyal members, with our crypto owners, our NFT owners, our landowners, the metaverse participants, however you want it to. Let's call them our black card. I think we still have black cards. Is that what's the top card? I want the top card. Is it the black card? It's the black card. That's the one. The black card owner. Whatever that card's called. If you give them a say, if you give them some control, a lot of things can happen, and we're really, really enjoying that. And that, I don't think that happened in a world where we looked at it just from a loyalty program point of view, and didn't think blockchain and didn't think crypto and didn't think NFTs or didn't think metaverse. It happened when we said, oh, all of this is possible, and let's get out of our way. And so how do you decide how to get out of the way? Well, NFTs and crypto and blockchain, all those technologies come together to allow you to get out of your own way.
And it just kind of helps you think about outside the box kind of things. I don't know if you all have noticed, but there's some people that are fired up that are anti-NFTs and anti-crypto. And I've had some conversation with people and they just get so mad. And it's kind of like, well, whether you like it or not, it's happening. It's going to happen. Yeah. So you might as well just.
Is that like being I'm anti-Amex. I've had it. Yeah. I'm anti-Amex.
Well, see, I'm old enough, Dan, that I can say I was back in the day when people hated this thing called the internet because everything was homogenous and this heterogeneity that was never going to happen.
Yeah. There are some things to hate. I mean, the sustainability of the NFT. There's some problems that for brands, for even a company our size. I don't want to lean in too heavy if I'm gonna if it's gonna cost the energy of a small town in Germany.
Right.
So so there are some issues, but
there's issues with everything. It doesn't matter, right? There's issues with regular money. Yeah. There's issues with writing checks, right? Yeah.
I don't know the carbon cost of my my Amex platinum card. They wouldn't give me a black card. The platinum.
All right, here we go. Do you see there being a standard for the metaverse, such as different studios doing things together in the same metaverse instead of proprietary metaverses in the future? I mean, that's the goal, right? Do you actually see that really, really happening?
Wouldn't it be nice?
Yeah.
We couldn't do it with mobile phones. We couldn't do it with web browsers. And we couldn't do it with video standards. We couldn't do it with television sets. So can there be an underlying thing there? So if that is the goal, a single metaverse that we're all interoperable with, if that's the goal, and it often is stated as such, so I think that's fair. It's a fine ideal. And somebody can let me know when we get there. Yeah. In the meantime, I think we probably have to be a little practical and say, okay, well, in 3D game engines, it's going to be at least a battle between Epic and Unity. Mm-hmm. In mobile games, it's going to be at least a battle between Android and I don't think Facebook's going to enter here, but once we put a headset on, then let's talk about headsets and the standards there. So for sure. Dan, I agree with I think the question probably was leading to, should there be a single metaverse? Dan, yes, sure.
Ready Player One, right?
Yeah. Well, I think you made a good point too, Trevor, is that with everything in technology, it's not necessarily, it never necessarily ends up in a single metaverse or a single browser or single type of device that you're carrying around. But I do think the standards and interoperability, come out of that, right? That discussion.
Mm-hmm. Can I tell you how excited I am about something that's just happened, though? So I talked about we created this clock world. People are using Decentraland, a tool that I've never used, to build 3D objects to put into the world we built that we didn't build to be compatible with Decentraland. Mm-hmm. It just happened.
Yeah.
So that's nice. So that's working, and hopefully we'll see a lot more of that in the future.
There was a comment here from Lantana Games. How are you doing, Lantana Games? It's happening, but it's a matter of keeping the barrier to entry low enough for the average consumer to get in, enjoy them, be a part of the ecosystem, and have a use for them that can't be duplicated by other more standardized game mechanics. Also, it's got to be like a lot of brands and companies have to be involved in that one thing. And we're kind of seeing that now in some other platforms, right? I personally don't know that much about clocks, so I can't talk of that. But I've seen a lot of metaverses where other brands are buying into it, and there's multiple brands, right? And it just is going to take some time for all that stuff to, at least in my opinion. All right, let's see here. Let's get rid of that one. And
there almost is only one search engine, right? There almost is only one search engine. So we've seen some evidence of
right. Yeah. And I mean, like, face there was only MySpace pretty much, and then it was only Facebook, and then now there's different branches of it. But
I'm a TikToker now, Dan, so I've moved on.
Yeah, TikTok. How do you effectively tie? Because you were talking about rewards. How do you effectively tie gameplay to these rewards? That was from way back in the conversation.
Yeah. I mean, lots of different ways. So from steps to points to levels to coins gathered, and basically we call it. We look at it the economy in the game, and we find something that we can hook onto to put rewards against. And because there's always multiple elements as part of the game mechanics and the gamification. You can pull one of those. You can pull that thread. We haven't done anything more sophisticated than that yet. Maybe others have. Where let's put all three of the things together and combine them into. We're trying to keep it simple. I think for ourselves more than anybody. It probably helps others too.
Yeah. And I think going back to some of the things that Sayu said, you do start simple, and then you allow technology to make that become more sophisticated. And I think the other comment I would add is when you're looking at that, you've got to take both the gamer perspective and the game owner perspective, right? And you got that where can we monetize from a game owner perspective, and how can we continue to make this exciting and challenging to the gamer and reward them appropriately.
Right. Oh, and we all know that one search engine is Bing. Just to go back, I just had to pop that up.
Mickey out of me, I can tell.
Did you have any comment about that, Sayu? Okay. Well, I've got a question for you then. What differences are there working with digital brands versus brands that have physical retail locations?
It's really, there's no difference. Redemption. How do you get your reward? That's really what drives it. So I want to be able to go to a physical location, and I want to be able to scan some QR code or some barcode and redeem my reward. Or I want to be able to do online. Either it's attached to my account as I'm earning, and then I apply it to my cart. Everything else is pretty much the same. So if it's and again, that's what we're trying to do. The brands are big enough to handle their own campaigns and run it and all that stuff. Where things fall apart is, or what we're trying to solve for is linking the brands up to everybody who's selling the same stuff they're doing. How do the consumers, because a lot of times the consumers will go to the small guys because it's closer. It's like if you're in New York, are you gonna go to a bodega next door, or you're gonna go find a Walmart? So sometimes it's not about going to the big brand stores. Sometimes it's about going to the outlets. And when you go to the outlets, how can they play? So if it's online, I need my rewards to be tied to my account. If it's in store, I need to be able to get it on my wallet and go in there and redemption. So it's really also about redemption.
Ding.
Yeah.
I'm sure that you noticed this, but do you remember when QR codes first came out? They were huge, and then all of a sudden they disappeared for a while. They just went boop, and then now all of a sudden they are everywhere. Yes.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
I think we have one time, unless somebody else want to answer. We've got time for one more question. Okay, I'll take that as we got time for one more question. Here we go. Do you have any tips for small indie dev teams to implement rewards into their games or products that they can do themselves?
Jim, do you want to go?
Yeah, I think the key to this is not put a lot of friction in your games. I mean, to the extent that you can, you as long as you're monitoring in-game events and things that you want to reward for. My advice is, and this is where the industry has gone, and on the retail side is go to a platform that helps you do that. Like Rakuten is in the retail space, and there's going to be more and more of that coming to play. What you don't want to do is just spend a lot of time implementing in-game reward strategies when you're basically capturing the events that you want to reward. That's all you need to do. Feed those into a platform and let that, the reward mechanisms occur there. Trevor, anything you want to add to that?
I think if there's time, Dan, is there time?
Yeah. I want to do a follow-up question too.
Okay.
Yeah.
I fibbed.
I think what I'd like to suggest, and Sayu, I don't know what you would say on the retail side to this comment. Keep it out of the engineers' hands for a while. Make sure it's on the marketing side. Don't engineer a solution for it if you don't test it out on social. Do a low touch, low, whatever. I don't know what the right word is. Just let the marketing team run it, and you should be able to do that. They could say, hey, on Instagram, whoever gets 10,000 points today, you don't have to ask an engineer who got 10,000 points today. You don't have to have something pushed out from an engineering point of view. Go look and see who got 10,000 points today, and run the incentive. And then that will help you model the program, help you determine the economy, and just to kind of learn.
I totally agree. Focus on the experience of the user. Let them feel and let them. One of the things we did through the process was not calling the rewards like coupons, but actually, calling them payment codes. So first, actually, they had cash. Right. So it's about that experience. You have cash. I have $50 that I can spend towards something. It's not, whatever, a discount or a coupon. So yeah, I totally agree with that sentiment. It's focus on that user experience. Let them feel that it's really, really a reward. I'm winning, I'm getting something, as opposed to some complex implementation of a reward system.
Right. And coupons have a connotation with them, right? They're like, when you hear the word coupon, right, it's like, oh, you get a 50% off coupon. And you're like, but if you just won a $25 reward that pays for half of your thing, that's like, woohoo. So you basically answered my follow-up question.
You guys are smart.
How does the game dev know that their rewards are working and if it's worth the time and effort to spend time implementing them?
Right.
So you basically answered that. But unless you want to further.
I hope so. Yeah.
I hope so. All right. Well, thank you all so much. This is awesome. Make sure and hang out in the Discord. I think there might be some questions in there for you as well. Next, we got coming up with Mr. Michael Brown from Vicarious PR. And, this. I love the title of this. You can make no errors in your marketing and still fail. That's going to be a good one. So come on and hang out. Thank you all.
Thank you.